Every day for the rest of your life is a miracle. How many are open to the idea that where you sit right now, the life that you're in, the skin that you're in, the experience that you're in, it is a miracle? And how many of us take the time every single day of our life to go, yes, this is a miracle. This is a miracle. This is birthing and creation in form. And sometimes we forget that. On this Mother's Day, I'm going to ask you to remember, to fully and completely remember that the God of our understanding and the goddess of our understanding is expressing at the point of you. You are a miracle. Just like that beautiful, beautiful new life is a miracle, so are you as a mom and a dad. So are all of us as the mothers and fathers of our own reality. You know, one of the lines in the song said, I don't have all the answers. Anybody ever feel like I don't have any answers? I think it's a sign of a true mystic who can get up anywhere at any given moment and say, I know nothing. I'm an open vessel. I am an open portal through which something can be born. And if I limit myself to the container of everything I've learned up to this moment, guess what? You've stopped life and maybe shut down the miracle to a little bit of a degree. Be an open portal to go, I know nothing. How many had a mother who knew nothing? Come on, when you were 13, 14, your mom knew absolutely nothing. And the reality is, how many had the mom that absolutely met every single one of your expectations, showed up exactly the way you would have designed the perfect mother? We have a few of you, a three of you. God bless you. The reality is, and I want to talk about my mom today, she was not perfect. But she had aspects of a goddess energy that were vital to my well-being, vital to the miracle of who I am today. And I can bemoan and groan and complain about what she didn't have, or I can celebrate the miracle of what she did bring, and to know that I had enough wisdom within myself to go find it elsewhere. You see, the mothers in my life don't always have female faces. The mothers in my life sometimes are not older than me. I have a granddaughter who is a miracle of a mother who comes and can teach me with one little word out of her mouth, call me up short about what I need to do to grow. Don't you hate that? In July 2018, the pop artist Ariana Grande declared in song, when all is said and done, you're going to believe that God is a woman. Go ahead and applaud for that. That's all right. Now, I'm not sure the context of that particular pop song is something we can share on Mother's Day or any Sunday. But the reality is, it was an indication of something that is profound for us to remember, and that is since the beginning of history, since the beginning of time, there's been a perpetual trying to erase of the goddess energy, a perpetual trying to shut down of the divine feminine, that in the beginning of time, God was a woman. In the beginning of time, there was a great goddess, a motherly, divine energy that was worshipped by everybody on the planet. In fact, in a book called When God Was a Woman by historian Merlin Stone, he traces it back to the inception of, as far back as he can go, the ancient worship of the goddess back to Paleolithic and Neolithic ages. How many were alive during that time? Harry, I know you were. No. This goddess was unquestionably a divine mother source energy. And she had a whole bunch of qualities that they honored and blessed in that time. Here are some of the qualities right there. Read them with me. Creator and nurturer, lawmaker, prophetess, provider, inventor, healer, hunter, valiant leader. How many people say, well, there's male qualities up there? Those are the stereotypical male things. That's the society we live in. Oh, it shouldn't be there. And I actually read the list and went, what was left for the male gods to do? And I believe that the ego mind, the male mind, which is not a bad thing. Let's get clear here. The male mind is absolutely necessary for a system of balance. But got threatened by this goddess worship, the divine feminine that was found in, through, and around as all creation, and began to pull a pendulum to the other side. And the religions as we know them today are a great testimony, most of them, to the male mind that said, let's pull the pendulum over here and let's try to erase that. Let's try to erase this very beautiful divine essence that is also contained in the divine feminine. You see, strength and hunting and valiant leader is not contained just in a male mindset. not just in a male body, but it is everywhere present at the point of all creation. It is in me, it is in you as a divine feminine. And today, as a means of bringing our systems, both nationally, humanly, politically, back into a state of equanimity and balance, we must be servants of looking for that balance. And we think, oh, well, we're fighting this perpetual pulling of the pendulum one direction or the other. If you're fighting, stop. Let it swing to and fro, and know that any given moment you're going to need the qualities that would be considered divine masculine, and you're going to need the qualities that will be considered divine feminine, and then time passes, and then somehow peace on earth evolves, because we are a balanced system, individually and collectively. And that balance is coming, whether it be through Ariana Grande's songs about God being a woman, or history books, or simply the willingness to say, I'm a more diverse human being than perhaps I've given myself credit to be. Let me live from the wholeness of my being and not just one aspect of my being. You know, when there's a one-sided universe, a one-sided system, inevitably it will crumble. And I believe, without not cursing anything, that my family system that I grew up in got a little bit one-sided. You see, my mom was a very dominant male energy, and so was my father. And so I am the product of a lot of male energy. I had to go discover something within myself. I had to fill in the blanks of that. I don't curse my parents. I love my parents. I don't curse my mother for not giving me what she didn't give me, but for giving me the strength that she gave me, and taking that gift and going, let me supplement and find the blind spots elsewhere in my life that I can more fully embrace her. I want to explore a little bit about that balanced system, certainly Taoists. The Taoist system is all about balance. And the universe is constantly moving to equanimity. It's constantly moving in that direction, and you're either cooperating with it or not. If life isn't working, you're not cooperating. If all traffic is coming the direction at you, you might want to go the other direction. Because life is saying, let's get into balance. Let's cooperate with that. And that balance starts first and secondly and thirdly and eternally within our own heart and our own being. Unity is a system of balance as well. Absolutely. Male energies, female energies. And now Charles Fillmore takes them and breaks them up a little bit, so it's like, oh, it's thinking and feeling nature. I think that is really short-sighted, because the most intelligent people I've been on the planet were playing a very divine feminine presence. And some of the most beautiful feeling people I ever met were living a male life. It's about balance within our own thing, in our own life. So in Hinduism, I'm going to explore some of the world's traditions today. Hinduism has seemed to be the one religion that has kept that female presence at the forefront better than the rest. In Hinduism, the divine feminine energy is called Shakti. Say that with me. And Shakti transcends gender, truly, in its truth. It transcends form, she transcends race, but she is called the Divine Mother because she is considered the source of all creation. So we have a religion that says mother energy was the source of all creation. There was a womb, not a male-dominated man, not an old man with a beard, with an authoritative mindset, but a loving womb of creation. And so Shakti is translated to mean sacred force or creative principle. Now, Shakti, Hinduism is one of the most misunderstood religions on the planet. And we think, oh, it's a polytheistic religion. There's all these different deities all playing with each other. And I don't look at it that way. Through a unity lens, Hinduism is a multifaceted diamond, a beautiful oneness, a beautiful wholeness that has many different textures, many different faces. Well, Shakti is also many faces, the many faces of motherhood. And these deities show up that have different qualities that create the whole that is the diamond, that create the whole that is life. In the Hindu pantheon, each of the female deities possesses an aspect of the one Shakti energy. Parvati, say that with me, epitomizes the stereotypical feminine energy of love, of devotion, and of protection. How many had a mom that filled that role? Your mom was channeling Parvati. Parvati was living within your mom, and she was able to produce that. My mom had no Parvati in her at all. Her love showed differently than it was supposed to show up. I had to go find Parvati in other people. Then there's Sarasvati. Say that with me. Sarasvati represents wisdom and learning. I don't know about you, but when I needed a clear, concise answer to a problem, I did not go to my father. I went to Mom. Quick, to the point, here's the answer. If I wanted a 4-hour lecture, I could go to my father and not have any idea what he was talking about. How many had that mom that had some deep wisdom? Even if she wasn't Parvati with the love and the compassion, she had that deep wisdom, and you knew you could go to that pool and get wealth out of there. Yes? Some of our mothers absolutely channeled Sarasvati. Some did not. Some of you channel that goddess. Some of us do not. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is. And then there's Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, of purity, and generosity. And then the most misunderstood of the deity, of the female deities, Kali. Say that with me. Kali. Kali is the great destroyer. That doesn't make any sense. Feminine destroyer, the great warrior. And unless you are willing to look beneath the surface, you don't understand Kali. My mom channeled Kali beautifully. You ever have a mom that could pick a lie out of the universe and see it a mile away? You would rehearse that lie over and over. This is the best lie I have ever told. And you start to say it, and then your mom channels Kali and goes, I am the destroyer of illusion. No illusion is going to exist in this field, and she cut to the chase quickly and exposed you for who you are. That's what Kali is. The ego cannot stand. The male ego cannot stand in the energy of Kali, and I believe Kali is absolutely being called to the surface right now to bring that pendulum back into balance. To stand in our strength, to stand in our power. Go ahead and clap for that. All of these are just aspects of one mother, different faces of Shakti, mother energy. And there are probably all aspects that exist within you, either realized or unrealized. Our job is to be conscious enough to come into balance and to extend that energy to your mom who didn't show up the way you thought she should show up, or to your children that don't show up the way they're supposed to show up. It's all about coming into balance. Let's go to Taoism. Lao Tzu, the founder of the Taoist religion. This is what he wrote, which I just love. Let's read it together. The beginning of the world may be regarded as the mother of the world. To apprehend the mother, know the offspring. To know the offspring is to remain close to the mother and free from harm throughout life. You want to know mother energy? You want to know goddess energy? Go look at creation. Go spend time with Gaia. Go spend some time with Pachamama. Look at the magnificent creation. It is the source of returning home to the mother energy. And if you didn't get it in your mother's eyes, go look at the creation of everything on this planet, the human race, and find it in the eyes of those you were sitting next to right now. That is the mother energy. That is the goddess energy. And so if you don't have it in your life, go find it by being present to the creation. And the creation that you need to be most close to is yourself. Discover that which was missing in your life within yourself, and you will find the mother energy. Taoist humanism puts females instead of males, are usually the more highly regarded energies. He continues with this counsel, and I'll read this myself. Know the male, but hold to the female, and become the world's stream. By knowing the feminine nature, the goddess, the mother energy of yourself, you then become the veritable stream. So rather than cursing what isn't out here, you find what's in here and you hold on to it fast, and then you become the stream of life. And then creation continues to be happening. How many would be okay if the womb of your life and your mind and your heart got a little bit bigger today? You are a womb of creation. The waters of creation itself are existing at the point of view. And this Mother's Day, allow yourself to be fully open to those waters and let them flow like never before. And then follow the Taoist tradition and know that you are absolutely clinging to the divine feminine of your nature, thus serving as the creation of all world, the whole world. Now in Jewish tradition, the divine feminine is known as Shekinah. Shekinah, say that with me. Basically means a place to dwell or a place to settle. Mama is home. How many people do not have a mama that you want to go home to visit? You just hated that visit. I got to go home. How many people found a place of home even in that childhood home that you didn't want to visit? You found Shekinah energy. Our job is to find Shekinah. And what's so beautiful about the Shekinah energy in the Jewish tradition is that in the writings of the Jewish people, when they were exiled, when they were imprisoned, and when they felt the farthest away from God, that's when they say Shekinah was most present. And on the other side of the spectrum, they also say that the very beautiful Psalms that David wrote, he was connected to Shekinah energy. In his closeness with God, the beautiful songs began to emerge. So isn't it interesting on the spectrum that that motherly energy, that feminine energy, is when you feel farthest away from God and when you feel closest to God? Is it any accident that we have to go to extremes to find that energy? I'm saying let's stop it. Let's have that Shekinah energy all the way through and write the songs and everything that you are experiencing. Everything you're experiencing in your relationship with your mom today, whether she's still here on the planet, you still have a relationship with her, and you're still renting out space in your head to her of what you've judged her. You're still holding her in your heart. Let it be a good song. Let it be a psalm. Let it be Shekinah energy at the highest and best, not cursing energy, not angry energy. You see, the prophecies of the Jewish people came directly out of Shekinah energy, not the male voices that dominated the landscape of Judaism. Let's go ahead and go further. How about the Quran? How many people have a view that you have inherited from terrorists and from news organizations about Islam? Let's get real. We have inherited things and accepted things. One of the most divine feminine energies exists within Islam. As much as we rail against people wearing garbs who cover their hair, 5 times a day the Muslim people get down on their knees and pray. And when they pray, the Fatiha is what they are praying. It is from the first surah of the Quran. And they use the word Al-Rahim. I'll say that with me. Al-Rahim, the merciful and compassionate one. And it is important to recognize that Ramin is derived from the Arabic word that means womb. So 5 times a day, the Islamic people are recognizing that God is male and female. And somehow there has been an intellect that said, let's hide that. Let's put that aside. Let's not put that doesn't sell papers. That doesn't sell news. It looks like this. Let me tell you, the time has come for us to make peace with Islam. Some of the most loving, beautiful, feminine, soft presences I have met here in the state of Georgia have been my Islamic friends. They have a fine-tuned divine feminine that we don't get to see unless you look closer. I'm saying look more closely and begin to infuse into your prayers an understanding that that is the very act of entering the womb that you are. That prayer is the means by which you are creating a basic unity principle. Prayer is the means by which you are bringing birth to a greater reality, a new paradigm of peace, of compassion, of kindness, and love, and do it daily. This is what, it's a little-known fact that Mother Mary is written about and more revered in the Quran than she is in the Bible. I bet you didn't know that. She gets a lot more press in the Quran than she gets in the Bible. So which one is the male-dominated culture that needs to take a look? You know, there were a whole bunch of female apostles. They got written out by a male intellect and a mindset. I'm saying let's just not curse it. Let's not blame it. Let's just be the living vessel and the living womb through which we bring things back into balance. So I'm going to turn this over here in just a few minutes, but I know, and we've acknowledged it today, that there are many of you that did not have a good relationship with your mom. Many of you have lost children. Many of you have said goodbye to your mother. Many of you have had difficult relationships with your children. I want you to know that no matter how far that emotion is from God, Shekinah lives there with you. And that you have the strength and the power of Kali. You have the great liberating energy of Tara from Buddhism and Kuan Yin, who hears the cries of your heart. Tara hears the cries of your heart. And Pachamama and Gaia herself listen to those prayers. They go into the earth and they are responded to. That your desires are planted in the womb of your consciousness and your mind, and Mother Earth herself is working to bring those into fruition. So I'm going to let you have a moment to meet one of my friends who is actually one of the mothers in my life. He's a go-to person in my life. He has a divine, motherly, feminine presence. And when I'm down on my knees and I need help, I go to Dr. Jerry Epps, because he has a very well-defined feminine that fills in a lot of the blanks that I didn't get from either grandma or my mother. And I'm going to ask him to share a little bit about the many faces in his life, some stories about the many faces of mother. Will you please welcome Dr. Jerry Epps?
There are many faces of motherhood, and each is an aspect of the divine. Many of us enjoy our mothers, love them, revere them, but not everyone. Some people had lousy mothers. Some people had mothers who were absolutely absent. We acknowledge that. And for those folks, it's not easy but possible that they can go to the mother energy within the divine and get their mother there. I get to share stories about special faces of motherhood that have shown up in my life. I consider it a great honor to get to do that. Let's go ahead and have the first slide while I say something about my own mother. One day when I was 6 or 7 years old, I came in from outdoors and said, "Mother, I think God just spoke to me." She said, "Well, probably. What did he say?" I said, "Well, he said you're a good boy." And she said, "Sounds right." That set me up. I've been hearing voices ever since. But since I'm a psychotherapist, I get away with it. I absolutely love the guides and the angels that have been in my life. And thank you, Mother, for telling me it's okay to hear voices. The book that is up is inspiring stories, I hope, of my interactions with God and my walk. I just want to mention it. It's free online. Go to the books tab and you can download it. If you care to send me $100 or $1,000, I'll even take it right after church if you like. Or you
don't
can just
forget
go,
your 10%.
All right. I'm generous. Every $100 I get for a book today, I'll give half of it to the church. We are honoring all mothers today. All mothers. It is a miracle. All of the people of the world came from mothers. It's incredible. As Prince Harry recently said, it's just incredible. I want to also mention my wife, Beverly, and my sister-in-law, Linda, who are each incredible mothers in very different ways. And now we'll take the next slide, please. Peace Pilgrim walked for peace. She said, "I'm going to walk for peace until mankind learns the way of peace. I am a pilgrim for peace." Not a real name. She took that name. She walked from 1953 to 1981. By 1964, she already had walked 25,000 miles for peace. She quit counting, but she kept walking. She was walking in the mountains of Arizona. It was already spring, not anticipated to have snowstorms, that a snowstorm came out of nowhere. Suddenly she's in a blizzard, couldn't see her hand in front of her face. She wasn't dressed for it, was getting numb, and of a sudden, the heavens opened. She heard beautiful music, saw beautiful colors. Two beings appeared. One came closer, and it was someone she had known before they had passed over to the other side. And Peace Pilgrim said, "Oh, have you come to take me home to the greater, freer one life?" And the being said, "No, it's not your time." The vision collapsed, ended. She was right back in the snowstorm, bumped into the bridge railing, made her way down underneath the bridge and found there a cardboard packing case, like a refrigerator might come in, with all the wrapping still in it. Crawled in there, wrapped up, got warm again, felt grateful that even there God had provided shelter for her. A great woman saint, Peace Pilgrim. I got to be in the same room with her in the late 1970s. I was not spiritually aware enough at the time to know what a great being I was in the presence of. I knew she was special, the beautiful silver hair, the way she gracefully moved her hands. I loved listening to her and felt like it was an honor to be there. Not everybody, of course, likes to listen and calls to mind this very ancient man, probably over 100 years old, went to the doctor, got his advice, everything was okay. 3 or 4 days later, clear across town, the doctor saw this old man with his beautiful, shapely, low neckline, high hemline, a gorgeous girl that couldn't have been over 28 years old. Doctor said, "What are you doing out here?" "Well, I'm just taking your advice." "Well, what advice was that?" "You told me to get a hot mama and be cheerful." No, I said, "You have a heart murmur, be careful." I hope today, sometime during this service, as Richard said, you hear the whisper of the divine, whether it's an idea, an emotional warming, or some energy flow in your body that calls you to an enriched walk with your God. We can take down Peace Pilgrim slide now. In the close of World War II, Wipperfall, Germany, young George Ritchie was a medic, 22 years old, helping with the liberation of that prisoner of war camp. He noticed a Polish man that seemed to stand out, and they came to call him Wild Bill. He had this incredible handlebar mustache. They couldn't pronounce his last name. These people from the Midwest didn't know how to pronounce Polish names, so they named him Wild Bill. And since he's from Warsaw, I call him Wild Bill of Warsaw. Wild Bill of Warsaw was energetic and had sparkling eyes, pretty good physical health, stood erect. Young Richie decided that Wild Bill must be a new arrival to the camp. There was a lot of filth, a lot of disease, starvation diet. They called on him to negotiate, settle disputes, because everybody loved him and trusted him. One day, his papers fell on the desk of young Richie, and he discovered that Wild Bill had been there since 1939. He had been in the camp 6 years. Nobody was alive who had been in the camp from 1939. He called Wild Bill in and said, "How does this work?" Wild Bill said, "Well, it's pretty simple. The Nazis came to my town, lined people up, and were killing them. Since I spoke German, they put me in a work group. I begged to be traded for my wife and children. They wouldn't have it. I watched them murdered. I was an attorney. I already knew what hate does to people. I made a decision then and there, whether I lived another 2 hours or another 2 days, I would love every human I met." That energy buoyed him up, carried him above the situation. If you have some situation that's too much, you might remember Wild Bill of Warsaw and ask God to lift you above that situation as well. Let's have the next slide, please. Here is my good friend, Barbara Klonga. She used to be a board member at this church. She and I are spiritual buddies, and until she passed, we tried to talk every week on the phone. Barbara was so determined to get fully emotional healthy and in union with God this lifetime. She gave it her all. She was my prize student in an ancient wisdom school that I used to run. At one point in the school, when she was standing in the fire saying, God, bring it on, let me see all of my stuff, God responded. And of a sudden, 50 plus years already, very spiritual being, and she found all of this incest energy that came rolling in upon her that her subconscious mind had locked out up to that point. She went through 6 weeks of hell, just miserable. Came in for a session. We talked about it. At one point, she's sitting in a chair with her eyes closed, and I'm walking around the room kind of like I'm doing right now. And of a sudden, in my inner ear, I hear Spirit saying, get back over there, put your hands on her head and say, light descend, your troubles are over. So I went back over, put my hands on her head, said, light descend, your troubles are over. At that moment, Spirit just used me for a lightning rod, right through her. First peace she'd had in 6 weeks, the troubles were gone. We talked about it. Then she said, well, what if it comes back? I said, well, since you've had it continuously for 6 weeks, if it could stay gone for as long as 12 hours, that'd be pretty good. Wouldn't that be a sign that it was over? She said, okay. We both looked at the clock. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Later, when we met again, she said she'd had a good evening, gone to bed, just happened by some happenstance to awaken, roll over, look at the clock. It was 7 minutes after 3 in the early morning, and she thought, it's been 12 hours and I still feel great. It must be gone. And it was. Never came back. This is where I get to tell another joke. I'm supposed to have points to them, but the point of this joke is just to enjoy it, I think. There was a setup. I forgot to stick it in, so here it goes. A woman gets to heaven. St. Peter says, welcome in. How do I actually get in? She said, well, it's simple. You just spell a word. What word? We'll just spell love. L-O-V-E. Oh, wonderful. Enter in. About that time, the phone rang in the guard shack. I'm sure it's right beside the gates to heaven. St. Peter, oh, my goodness, I have to go. I'll be right back. But could you watch the gate for me? Oh, yeah. Just do what I did. Somebody comes, give them a word to spell. They spell it, you let them in. Oh, okay. Who do you suppose showed up next? Her ex-husband. Oh, you? Yeah, well, okay. Well, you want to get into heaven? Well, sure. What do I have to do to get in? It's simple. You just spell a word. What word? Czechoslovakia. Barbara and I still communicate. We just don't use an earthly telephone. Could I have the next slide? This is my favorite scripture, and it has so many of the mother face aspects to it. We can read it together. Come to me, all you who labor and are overburdened, and I will give you rest. Shoulder my yoke and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest to your souls. Yes, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Many faces of motherhood in that scripture. And the next slide. All around the world, this face is recognized. Someone did some research and discovered that just looking at this, I'm seeing their mud, it's here. Looking at this image slows down your heart rate and lowers your blood pressure. An island of goodness in a teeming world. She became a nun. was a school teacher. She left in 1948 the classroom and went to the streets, started teaching children under a tree, and that led to more and on to her ministry to the poorest of the poor. Mother Teresa had her doubts, but she continued to the practice of see Jesus on the face of every person she met. And that was her way of staying in high vibration. She is an aspect of the divine, a wonderful face of motherhood. And you can take that picture down now. The master teacher, Jesus, in his native Aramaic language said, "The kingdom of heaven is all around you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Split a piece of wood and you'll find it. Turn over a stone and it will be there." I invite you to choose a face of motherhood that you admire. Pray it, practice it, and become it. Thank you.
And so we have explored the face of motherhood and deities since the beginning of time, current faces of motherhood, and there are mothers in this room. We're going to take those visions, those faces, those ideas, and to know that every one of them represents a divine energy in you today. A divine energy that is calling for balance and expression. Take a deep breath with me. We're going to sing this song. I am one with the heart of the mother. Choose the face that works for you. During the song, we'll sing it 4 times.